Welcome back to my channel. We are back with another release from Lumix and I cannot be more excited about this one. Today we're going to be talking about the S1 Mark II paired with the brand new lens from Lumix, the 24 to 60 millimeter, and we're going to talk about how it does in low light and all the photo features to it. So if you're with me, let's go. The first thing I want to talk about with this camera is the autofocus performance, especially when shooting in burst mode. And with the autofocus on the S1 Mark II, it has been improved. It is a lot better than what we would have on, let's say, the S1II. And you know, we have a lot more real-time recognition and accuracy with the S1 Mark II. There is autofocus tracking, which is a really cool feature. It will actually just follow the subject that you're shooting. If you are burst shooting a subject or you are trying to focus on a subject, it'll lock in and focus on that subject and on the person you're shooting, and it'll follow them all throughout your screen. So you can kind of get rid of the old classic maneuver of having to move your camera to follow the person, unless that's what you're doing. But if you just want to have your camera pointed and you just want to follow them through the screen, the autofocus tracking is improved enough to the point where it'll lock in and it'll follow that person all the way through, and you don't even have to worry about anything coming out blurry, which is super nice. On the S1 Mark II, we also have a lot more, focus detection settings. We have train, plane, we have bike, car, we have everything. Motorcycle, we have animal setting, animal eye detection, human eye detection, and body, face and body. We have a lot more settings that a lot of cameras just don't have, which is super nice. And we also have a new one called the Urban Sports setting. So essentially a sports mode when you think about it, but this is very applicable to, skateboarding, breakdancing, BMX, kind of anything extreme sport outside. But it does also work with hockey, soccer, baseball, basketball, kind of any sport. The autofocus tracking is one of those features where if you are shooting something very fast, trying to shoot something simultaneously, whether it's sports, concerts, or just people moving around, that is definitely a feature that is going to help you out. I know for me, when I'm shooting concerts, that autofocus tracking is 100% my best friend. Now, another topic of conversation that I want to bring up with the S1 Mark II is the low light performance. It's a brand new camera, and I know for a fact this question is going to get asked. How does this perform in low light compared to other full frame cameras that we see from Lumix? I shoot in low light situations all the time, and I had the pleasure of trying it out in a concert setting in probably one of the most underground clubs that there are in Toronto, with very minimal lighting, very harsh lighting, and I can honestly say that this camera performed so well, and it blew me away, and it definitely took my expectations to another level. Generally, when I'm shooting in low light situations, I'm manually adjusting my shutter, and usually I'm shooting on shutter mode just so I can adjust the shutter speed, because that definitely plays a factor in, how I'm composing my photo and how it's turning out on the camera. Now, my ISO is generally kept on auto just because the lights are changing so much, and it doesn't really make sense for me to adjust my ISO unless I absolutely need to. But if I'm keeping it on auto, which is what I did for this show to be true to the camera and true to my review, I can honestly say that my ISO didn't go above 6400. And I was able to get really clear images. There wasn't a lot of noise. The fact that my ISO didn't push up above 6400 is really telling to how well this camera performs in low light, and the processing and all of the images and how it was actually processing my photos. Now, to get away from the S1 Mark II and to talk about something that I thoroughly enjoyed, is the brand new lens from Lumix, the 24 to 60. So I'm just gonna show it up like this. The 24 to 60 lens, it's beautiful. It's an f2.8 all the way through, so even if I do zoom to 60 millimeter, it's still gonna remain at an f2.8, which is absolutely amazing. We don't have, the variable lens where it's a 4 to 7 and anytime you zoom in, it kind of changes. it's a steady, constant 2.8, which I think is a really big selling point for this lens. Everybody loves a good 2.8 lens. Yes, it is a bit on the wider side. However, when you pair it with the S1 Mark II, it actually turns into a 24-to-120 because the S1 Mark II does have the hybrid zoom feature like the S9. So that's something that's truly beneficial, especially if you're trying to pack light for a trip. You don't want to bring a big lens, you just kind of want that all in one. Well, this 24-to-60 with the hybrid zoom, this will get you to where you need to go. This will kind of do everything for you. Now, just like typical Lumix lenses, you know, you do have the option to do autofocus and manual focus. And you also have this cool little function button right there. And what's cool about that is in your menu on the S1 Mark II, you can actually go in and change what you want that button to do. So when I first got the lens and first got the camera, that button was for like video recording. And it was a good stop and start button to use, especially if you wanted to start and stop a video. I switched it to autofocus lock. So in the menu settings, there is an option to change the function button when the lens is attached to the camera body. And you can go in and change that button to the autofocus lock. So it just makes it a little bit better, especially when you're shooting, to, you know, have something in focus and press that button and it'll lock on them. And this feature is what I mentioned before with the autofocus tracking. This will actually let you lock the focus in on that subject and it'll track them all through the screen. So it's kind of an added benefit, especially with that little function button. Now the lens and the S1 Mark II as a whole, I could honestly say images are a lot more sharper. The colors are a lot more richer. You know, the way that this camera is processing your images is just making it 10 times better and is just elevating your work. And that's what I've noticed with this S1 Mark II. Now for someone who might be a hybrid shooter and does focus a lot on video, but then also has photo aspects, that's who I would recommend this camera to. In terms of photo, it is only 24 megapixels. If you are looking for a camera that has a bit more megapixels, a bit more high res, the S1R2 might be a little bit better in that sense. Overall, as a camera for a photographer, I think it does the job, especially as somebody who is coming from a long line of Micro Four Thirds and an S5II. I think this is a really good step up from, you know, the cameras that I've had in the past. It's really elevating my work and I can really see the difference between, you know, what I've used in the past versus what I'm using now. My pictures are a lot more clear, the quality is a lot better, the colors are more richer, and it's just the overall sharpness of the photo is, you know, everything that I could ever want. And now I haven't been using this camera long, however, just in the short amount of time that I have been using it, I think this is an absolute beast of a camera. And if you're looking to just elevate your game a little bit and you do want to invest in new gear, I think the S1II is definitely a big competitor and should definitely, you know, be in that buying decision. Now, if you are looking for a new lens and you do want something a little bit more wider, but you also want something that's going to be fast and quick and just, you know, is going to be a bit of a workhorse lens for you, the 24-60 I would definitely say is, you know, a top contender. I personally love it, especially when I'm shooting in a small space. You know, I'm getting really nice bokeh. It is an f2.8, which that right there is a game changer for me. And especially when you pair it with an S1II, it can just keep up with the camera body and all the features and the lens itself. It's just overall a good combination. Anyways, that is all I have for you today. If there is another camera that you would like me to compare the S1II to, please let me know. Put it in my comments below. If there's something about the camera that I didn't touch on in this video, please let me know in the description below. And if you've had the opportunity to try out the S1 Mark II, leave it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Let's have a conversation. I'll also leave all of my socials in the description, and I'll leave links to other Lumix creators who are also creating videos about this camera, more on the video side if that interests you. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.